Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Encryption. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can create our own local lab in our PC or laptop to practice real-time Linux system engineering tasks. In this video, you will learn to set up practice environment for Linux system engineer and to solve some of the basic tasks in the Linux servers that include remote access using SSH, hostname configuration, static IP address configuration, hostname resolution, create new user with password, and allow super user privilege to the users. Before actually beginning the setup and configuration, let's quickly understand how the practice environment will be. Since we are going to create the practice lab in a virtual environment, we will use one of the virtualization software which is also known as a hypervisor. The hypervisor we are going to use is a Vmware Workstation. You can download and install the Vmware Workstation from the internet. If you already don't have this installed on your PC, then you are required to create your custom NAT network, or you can simply use the default NAT network. Next, we will create our 4 virtual machines, one to be used as a workstation and other 3 to be used as application and database servers. All the virtual machines will run CentOS operating system. The workstation will have CentOS Workstation, which is a user-friendly CentOS desktop system for laptops and PCs. The workstation will be used to access the servers remotely via the SSH, while the other 3 servers will be configured to run different services to perform different tasks. Out of the 3 servers, 2 are to be used as application servers, and 1 is to be used as a database server. At the time of assigning tasks to the system administrator, it will be clearly stated that on which server what tasks need to be performed. Okay, up until now, we have just figured out how the basic practice lab will be to get hands-on experience on Linux system administration. Now let's start setting up the lab environment. Before you start, you should have the Vmware Workstation 14 or higher version installed on your computer. Also, make sure your computer or laptop has the RAM or memory size of at least 8 GB or higher for this particular lab environment. Then download the ISO image file of the latest version of CentOS using the link as shown on the screen. You can also find the link in the description below. Next, we will create a Workstation VM first. Open the Vmware Workstation, click on Create a New Virtual Machine. Leaving the typical recommended selected, click on Next. Here, make sure the installer disk image file ISO is selected and then click on the Browse button to locate the CentOS ISO image file. I have downloaded and saved the image file in my Downloads folder. Click on the file to select and click on Open. Click on Next. Make sure that the Linux is selected and the version is CentOS 7-64. Check if you can see the CentOS 8 in the drop-down list. If you can, you should choose the CentOS 8 version. Otherwise, CentOS 7-64-bit works perfectly fine. Then click on Next. Give a name to the virtual machine. Let's give the name as admin. Also, you may change the VM file storage location or just leave the default selected. Click on Next. The recommended size for CentOS or CentOS 8 installation is 20 GB, but you can increase the size of the hard disk if you want to, or just leave the recommended and allocated size. Click on Store Virtual Disk as a single file and then click on the Next button. Now you may click on the Customize Hardware button to modify the RAM size, number of processors, and the type of network. Let's increase the RAM size from 1 GB to 2 GB so that it gives a little bit better performance. Leaving all the other hardware specifications as to default, click on the Close button for now. And finally, click on Finish button. Okay, this is how a new virtual machine is created. Next, you need to power on this virtual machine. Here, just press the Enter key. Wait until the operating system boots up. Now a setup wizard appears and we can see English language of the United States is selected by default that we can use during the installation process. Then click on the continue button. Here you will have to complete the items that are marked with the warning icons before configuring the next steps. First, click on the installation destination. You don't need to modify anything here, just click on the Done button. To get other warnings disappear, we will have to get the network or the internet connected first. If your default NAT network can connect to the network, you can simply skip this process. The current status in my case states that the network is not connected. So let's check it and resolve the issue. I right click here on the VM, which is the admin, and click on settings. Then I click on the network adapter. Now this VM is attached to the NAT network, but it's not working. My default NAT network on the VMware is not working because I have created a custom NAT network and the default NAT network's settings are already modified. So I will need to attach the VM to the custom NAT network. So I click on the custom and click on VMnet for NAT and then click on the OK button. Now click on the network and host. Here we can see the Ethernet ENS33 is disconnected because it is turned off. Slide this switcher to turn it on. Now the Ethernet is connected. So click on the Done button. Now the installation source and software selection are downloading the group metadata. As we can see, the installation source is fixed, but the software selection needs confirmation on which software to select while installing. So click on it. Here select Workstation, since we are going to use this virtual machine as a workstation, and then click on Done button. Finally, click on the root password. Create a root password, retype it to confirm, and click on the Done button. Now click on the Begin Installation button. The configuration of disks partitions begins and the installer will download and install the packages. It requires to download and install several packages, so it may take a bit of time. I pause the video here and I will be right back after the installation is complete. Now click on the license information. Click on the I accept the license agreement and click on the Done button. Also, you may create a user here, but it's optional. To create a user other than the root, click on the user creation. Give the full name of the user, type the username, password, confirm the password, click on the Done button, and finally click on the Finish Configuration button. Now the system will reboot and the user login screen will appear. Enter the password and hit enter. We are now logged into the CentOS 8 workstation. Press Ctrl and Enter keys at the same time to switch to full screen mode. The machine may ask you to set up some general settings. You simply choose the options that are okay for you. Moving on, we will create another virtual machine in the same way that we created it. However, we will not install the OS in all virtual machines one by one. Instead, we will create one and make a cloned copy for others. Let's see how. First, create a new virtual machine. Point the iOS image file. Give a name to the virtual machine. For example, encrypt app01, configure disk capacity, customize hardware, attach the VM to the NAT network, and finally click on the Finish button. Now power on the virtual machine. Wait until the machine reboots. Here everything is the same as we did before. But in the software selection section, instead of Workstation, choose Minimal Install, which provides basic functionalities of the CentOS server and is very lightweight. Then create a root password. Retype to confirm and click on the Done button. Finally, click on the Begin Installation button. Now it takes a quite bit of time to complete the installation. I will be right back after the installation is complete. With the minimal installation, you only get the screen like this. That means you don't get any graphical user interface. You should do everything from here. Let's log in to the server with the login username as root and the password that we created during the installation process. We are logged in and we can issue any valid commands here. Now let's power off the machine and create multiple copies of this virtual machine. That means we will clone the current state of this machine to create other similar ones. For this, right-click on this machine, click on the Manage, click on Clone, click on Next, again click on Next, click on Create a full clone, then click on the Next button. Let's give the virtual machine name as encryptapp02 and click on the Finish button. Wait a while until the VMware prepares a clone of the virtual machine. After all done, click on the Close button. Here we can see another virtual machine named encryptapp02 is created in a very short period of time with the same configurations as with the encryptapp01. Moving on, let's create one more clone of encrypt1. And I am going to name it encryptdb01. Okay, now we have all the virtual machines created. Now let's power on all the virtual machines and check their IP addresses. Let's first log in to encryptapp01 and then check the IP address. It's 192.168.233.146. Then let's log in to encryptapp02 and check its IPv4 address as well. As you can see, it's 192.168.233.147. And also let's check the IPv4 address of encryptdb01, which is, as we can see, is 192.168.233.148. After we know IP address of all the hosts and we know their root password, we can access them remotely from the host named admin via SSH and make further configurations. Now, as the first task of this video, get access to all the servers via SSH from the admin host and then configure the host name and add user with their password as shown in the screen. Let's first SSH to encryptapp01. Verify the IP address. Set the hostname as encryptapp01 and type exec bash to get the command executed. Then add the user Harry. Configure the password to the user and verify. Likewise, SSH to encryptapp02. Verify the IP address. Set the hostname as encryptapp02 and then type exec space bash to get the command executed. Then add the user CentOS. Configure the password to the user and verify. Also SSH to encrypt db01. Set the hostname as encrypt db01 and type exec space bash to get the command executed. Then add the user Parker. Configure the password to the user and verify. Let's also change the hostname of the admin host as encryption. You can give the hostname of your choice, however. Now, as the next task, let's configure static IP address to the servers encrypt app01, encrypt app02, and the encrypt db01. Before that, we are required to know the subnet mask and the default gateway. We can get them with IP space R command. Here we can see the net mask is of /24 and the default gateway address is 192.168.233.2. With them, let's configure static IP addresses on all the app servers and the DB server. Let's begin with the app server 1. One of the easiest built-in tool to configure an IP address in Linux systems is NMTUI, which is short form of Network Manager Text User Interface. Here, go to IPv4 configuration, press enter on automatic, select manual and hit enter. Now press right arrow key to go to show and hit enter. And on the addresses box, type its IP address, which is 192.168.233.146/24. Enter the gateway address as 192.168.233.2. DNS servers, usually same as the gateway address, and one additional Google's public DNS that is 8.8.8.a. Go all the way down to OK and press enter on it. Here go to back and hit enter. Select activate a connection and press enter. Again press enter on deactivate and press enter on activate to refresh the changes. Now quit and OK. Then to verify we can run IP space addr space show. Now go to other machines and configure their addresses in the same way that we did in this machine. Moving on, let's map the IP addresses to the hostnames so that the machines can be identified by their hostnames as well. On every machine, open the /etc/hosts file with a text editor and enter the IP addresses and hostnames of every other machines. On this workstation machine, enter IP before addresses and host names of all the other servers. They are F and DB servers. Save and exit the file, and to verify you can just run ping space the destination hostname. As we can see, we can reply from the remote destination host. In the same way, enter the IP address and hostname in a correct form in the /etc/hosts file of other servers as well. We can simply do SSH to the machines and make entry of the required stuffs from here only. After the /etc/hosts file of every machine is updated with the mapping of required host names and IP addresses, let's move on to the final task of this video. The task is to allow sudo privilege to the local users that we created recently. Let's do the task remotely. Type ssh space -t root at encryptapp01 space single quote user mode space -a caps G space will space vary. Here in the first part, we log into the server remotely, and in the second part of the command, we execute the command to allow root privilege to the user Harry. To verify, let's log in as Harry and sudo space ls space -l space /root. Listing the contents of the root directory is allowed only to the privileged users. Here we go. The user is privileged to do so. In the same way, provide sudo privilege to other users on the other servers and verify. There are other ways to do the same task in the Linux machine that we will see on the other videos when we assign tasks to the system administrator. Okay friends, that's all for this video. I hope the video was useful to you. Please subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching. See you on other videos. Till then, have a nice time. Goodbye.